What's up, everybody? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays for this Tuesday, May the 5th, 2020. I am your host, Russ Williams. I'm so glad you could be here today. I'm quite aware you could have been anywhere in this world today, but you decided to be here with me, and I appreciate that. And more importantly, I appreciate you. So welcome to Transition Tuesdays on this lovely, I think it's like 65-degree day here in New York City. So we got a great show here lined up today, and on the line is my special guest. On the line is my former high school teammate at Mount Senior McClancy High School here in Queens, New York, and he is also the councilman in the town of Brookhaven, New York. So Transition Army, I want you to give a warm welcome to my man. He is back for a second time on Transition Tuesdays, Councilman Neil Foley. What's up, Neil?
Hey, my dear friend. How are you? I was thinking about this before we talked a couple of months ago, and the world has changed. It really has.
It really has, Neil. We're gonna jump into that. So let's see who's watching us so far. We got John joining us. Hey, John, welcome to Transition Tuesdays, my friend. We also have Latasha joining us. Welcome, Latasha. I think Latasha's the first time person joining us today. Welcome. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. So yeah, Neil, like you said, man, this is, last time I had you on, it's been a different world since that time. So, hey, Neil, so how are you doing, and how's your family doing during this whole pandemic? How are you guys doing?
So thank you, and I'm right back at you. My family, my wife and 4 kids, we're doing well. We're healthy. Thank God.
Yeah.
We are, we're experiencing this new normal. And, even my personal life has changed because we're transitioning to a quarantine life. My professional life has changed as the councilman because obviously we're dealing with many, many issues today. It's sad. I am seeing silver linings. I'm seeing some light at the end of the tunnel with this pandemic.
Okay.
We are going to get out of it. We're going to learn from it, and we will come out. And I pray we'll be stronger than ever.
Yeah, I hope so too. I know it's like a tough transition for you, as a councilman, handling these affairs with your constituents, where you are. So, hey, question for you. A couple questions I got for you, but we all know you're in politics. So, are you happy with the job the governor's doing here in New York in terms of like dealing with the pandemic? Are you happy with it, the way he's handling it?
So I will tell you this: Governor Cuomo has been a very, very calming voice, and in these tough times, you need leadership, you need a calm voice, you need solution-minded, and he has been very, very good at this. There's no doubt about it. I don't look at this situation in political eyes. The governor and I are from different political parties, but he is absolutely doing a great job. He's very informative during these press conferences at 11:30. And listen, he is running in many ways, and we're New Yorkers. The governor's running a country, basically. He's not running a state; it's a country. And we, unfortunately, were hit with this pandemic harder than anywhere probably in the world, because density is not a friend of this virus. And that's what's happening in the New York and tri-state area. There are 35 million people that live around here, Russ. And we live... someone told me... I heard a line a couple weeks ago, and it made a lot of sense. Someone said, well, why is New York getting hit harder than California? And they said, well, the reason that is when Californians have to separate, they can go wide. They can go out. There's a lot of miles around, and they could quarantine themselves and shelter in place. Whereas New Yorkers, especially the 5 boroughs and even the tri-state area, we have to go high. We live in buildings.
Right.
And that's not conducive to this virus. So, and that's why it's hit us hard. And, we're a very, very tri-state area, and that's what is happening to us.
So I agree with you saying, like, how it's a tough job that Cuomo is doing, because he's kind of like almost in essence like the president in a way, governing the people here in New York and the New York State area. What do you think about the job the federal government is doing? You think they're doing an admirable job during this pandemic?
I want to just say one more thing about the governor first.
Yeah,
we'll get to
sure.
the federal government.
Okay.
And I believe all these elected officials, the governors, the county executives, have an extremely, very, very hard decision. This is almost a life and death decision, because the decision they're going to have to make in a couple of weeks is, when do you flip the switch? And that's what everybody's asking now. When do you flip the switch of the economy? You have millions of Americans and New Yorkers that are unemployed now. Can't pay their mortgage, can't pay their rent, can't pay their car payment. So, which is devastating to them. But then you also, when you flip the switch, it's going to happen. There's going to be a little bit of a second wave to this.
Yeah,
it might happen. So I applaud all these elected officials, and it has nothing to do with this because I am one. But it's a tough decision that they're going to have to make. I think it's got to be a soft opening, a slow opening, and I think in the next month or so, 2 months, in New York will be a different place than we are as in the beginning of May. With the federal government, so their role in general in government is to back up, per se. You and I, Russ, we're athletes. We're backups. It's almost like the sixth man of what goes on.
Okay.
Listen, I'm not going to put blame on anybody here. And I know people want to say, well, this one did this did that. At the end of the day, I don't think anybody, from the President Trump to the governors to the mayor, to anybody, were prepared for this. It's impossible to understand it. I'm more of a fan of, listen, learn from it, realize what we need to do. This probably is not the first time we'll have to deal with this in the next couple of years or 10 years. Listen, but I will also say, listen, President Trump, it's not easy sometimes. It's not easy.
Right.
I think his intentions are there, but he lacks the communication skills of a Governor Cuomo, or a President Obama, or even other elected officials. It's not really a knock. I'm not trying to knock him, but that's not his wheelhouse per se, and sometimes it looks bad. And I think that's why his message doesn't come across. Do I think President Trump wants to help people? Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think when Governor Cuomo and the president got together 2 weeks ago and had a breaking of the bread in D.C., if you notice, all the shots across the bow ended, and you're seeing a lot of the PPEs coming to New York. You're seeing funding coming to New York. And they found a way, thank God, getting over political stuff to find some solutions.
Yeah. It's funny, Neil, sometimes, like you mentioned about the president, a lot of times his thoughts, like, he thinks out loud. We get his thoughts when he does that. So, maybe he's not as skilled as a Cuomo, but it is what it is, what we have here. And you made a good point there, Neil. You talked about reopening of America, and like there are currently 30 states who have decided to reopen. So, like, based on those states that have reopened, you being a councilman, do you feel like these states have jumped the gun by opening too soon because of not having adequate testing at this time? Do you think they maybe jumped the gun, these 30 states, or what's your opinion on that?
I will tell you, I represent all of Fire Island in the town of Brookhaven, which is a ton of people. It's a huge beach community that people count on going to the beach, during the year.
Right.
We are watching what's going on in many states. It's Miami. Many states, Florida, specifically Miami.
Right.
Miami Beach. We're watching what's going on in California with the beaches.
Okay.
I will tell you, I probably would have not pulled the trigger that quick.
Right.
Once again, but I'm a New Yorker, and it hit here differently down in the South or the West. And the governor or the elected officials made some decisions. Right now, we're hearing some rumors that the numbers are popping a little bit in those areas that have kind of opened up quicker than maybe they should have.
Right.
We'll see what happens.
Right.
And that's where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very difficult decision. Everybody wants to play Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the governor's executive orders, Governor Cuomo's executive orders, go to the 15th of May, and we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on these calls every day, Russell. I will tell you, with County Executive Suffolk, we have multiple calls during the day. The numbers are truly going down in New York. Where we are today compared to 3 or 4 weeks ago is night and day. It's amazing.
That's a good thing. You think that's because of we're doing a self-isolation deal, we're staying at home? So has that brought the numbers down because of that?
Absolutely. Everywhere I go now, we all go as New Yorkers. Listen, we have to go shopping. You go to the supermarket, maybe you go to Home Depot or Costco or wherever you go. Everybody's wearing a mask.
Yep.
I find 98, 99% of the population is absolutely doing the right thing.
Right.
It's they really are respecting the governor's orders, and I do believe. I guess we have to believe, because we're doing this and we've paid the price and we are socially distancing ourselves the past 6 or 7, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
It's having a positive effect.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, so let's take a look who's joined us so far there, Neil, the councilman here. We got Gina joining us. Welcome, Gina. We got my man E. Brooks joining us. What's going on, E? We got Janine, my Jasper sister, joining us. What's going on? We have Chris joining us, and we have Pamela Johnson Cheeks joining us. Welcome, guys, to Transition Tuesday with my special guest, Mr. Neil Foley, my former teammate at Monsignor McClancy High School. We're going to talk hoops a little bit later on, Neil, but I just want to, just talk about a couple of these questions that I had for you. So,
absolutely.
Yep. So we're talking about, has there been a large case of COVID-19 breakouts in your town of Brookhaven? How is the situation there in your particular town that you govern over?
So, town of Brookhaven is in Suffolk County. Suffolk County is about 1.3 million people. It's gigantic. Everything in New York is bigger and better. Town of Brookhaven has over 500,000 people. In my council district, I have 85,000 people. Okay. So we're kind of looking at this pandemic from a county eyes and a town eyes. Okay. As a county, Suffolk County, the town of Islip has gotten hit very hard with this, and there's reasons for that. And I think these are the situations and these are the conversations we need to have going forward. Mm-hmm. If you look at the town of Islip, which has about 30% of the cases of COVID-19 in Suffolk County, it's largely hitting Hispanic areas, Brentwood, Central Islip, and Bayshore. Okay. And it kind of goes back to where you and I grew up too, Russell, in Elmhurst. Elmhurst Hospital at one point was the epicenter of this COVID-19 situation in the United States. Yeah, not too far from me, less than 2 miles away from my home. Yeah, you're right. Yep. And people say, okay, why? Well, let's have some conversations. Mm-hmm. So those areas are heavily Hispanic right now, and there's a lot of reasons why. And I think these are the conversations we need to have, and this is why I jump on your show to have these straightforward conversations. Right. Listen, I think the Hispanic community in those areas did not have the luxury of working from home. Right. Okay, a lot of these folks work in the trenches of different occupations, which listen, if you were able to work from home and conference call or Zoom or computers, you were protecting yourself. A lot of these men and women in that community, they had to get out there and work and support their families. Yeah, those also, essential workers and everything like that. Yeah, absolutely. The second part is they're very family oriented, and they live in so where they live it's a lot of times is a multi-generational house. There are different generations living in the same house. Yeah. And also, I think they did when I thought, especially out in Suffolk County, a lot of Hispanic people, they work so hard and they do so much for these communities, and I think there's still a lack of trust in many ways, and a lack of communication, and there was a language barrier of getting the message out earlier. Which really, truly, sadly, Russ, hurt this community, and in different Hispanic communities. Because if you look at a map of all the Hispanic communities in the 5 boroughs, Northern Jersey, Connecticut, on Long Island, they all come back very, very high COVID. And that's something that we need to look at going forward. If we are in this situation again, how do we communicate the message earlier and better? How do we give these folks N95 masks? How do we get them? So, and that's what we're looking at now. And like I said, Suffolk County is a state, basically. It's and like I said to you before with Governor Cuomo, there's 19 million people in New York, basically. It's a country. You look at the state of California. The state of California alone, ladies and gentlemen, just the state of California is the 6th largest economy in the world. So this is the issues that we have to deal with. We have to deal with honest conversations. Where did we fail here? Where did we succeed here? And going back to, you said before about Governor Cuomo, he's really expressed his leadership in a very calm way, which has helped a lot of New Yorkers.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so Neil, I'm going to ask you a hypothetical question right about now. So let's say if my boy Neil Foley was now president, okay? And it can happen, ladies and gentlemen. It can happen from councilman to president. I can see that in my boy Neil. I can see that happening. So, Neil, let's say you were president. How would you handle reopening of America? I know that's a tough one.
No, it's a great question. Okay. So, listen, I would absolutely open up the country in a regional way. Okay. There's no doubt about it. Listen, the president and the governor and everybody, this is a data-driven decision.
Yeah.
Certain states, listen, we're not hit by this. Because remember, they don't have the density we have. So their opening is very different than ours. I look at the Florida, I look at the Georgia opening, and say Texas and California, those 4 states, and I probably would have waited a couple more weeks. I think what the governor of New York is doing right is we're not opening up. New York is not opening up by itself, okay? Right. New York City is not opening up by itself. It's going to be a Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I see that partnership, yeah.
Yeah, and you have to do that. So that's what I would do together. And for me, I think what the president needs to do is to say to all 50 governors that the federal government is here to support you. If you need ventilators, if you need the United States Comfort Ship, we'll be there for you. And that's what he probably needs to do. But I'm happy to see that the Northeast has gotten on the same page, because it would be utter stupidity for the 5 boroughs to open up and then Nassau County or Suffolk County or North Jersey not to open up. It's got to be done together, and a smart decision.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, so Neil, and before I ask you other question, we got Chris joining us. What's going on, Smooth? We got Richie joining us, and we got my man Donald Elliott from North Carolina joining us. Welcome, guys. Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. Hey, so Neil, what are your thoughts on the testing? Because, it should be all about testing. Testing, testing those people who, maybe might not have the virus, maybe asymptomatic, but getting the testing involved before we reopen, have a full-fledged reopening. So what's your thoughts on testing out there?
Absolutely. So there's another part, too, that needs to happen. So one of the bigger side effects of COVID-19, not the only side effect, but the bigger side effect is temperature. You're going to see this everywhere going forward down the road. For now, if your temperature has so say obviously our temperature is supposed to be 98.7, 98.5 in that general area.
Uh-huh.
But if you walk into or you have a temperature over 100, that's a little bit of a warning sign. Mm-hmm. That okay, obviously your temperature is higher, so you're going to see places, sometimes buildings, every part of our life. They might say to you, Russell Williams, you have a temperature of 100.9. We're not going to let you in this building right now. Mm-hmm. So, and that's a sign. That's a COVID-19 world we're living in now, and that's one of the first steps.
Okay.
Testing is critical for two reasons. Obviously, there are two tests right now that we are going to live with for many years. There's the antibody test, and there is the actual test, swab test, if you are positive, negative. Mm-hmm. Everybody should get both. Okay. The one test, obviously, is testing, because here's the crazy part of this virus, which is scary and wacky or insane in the same sentence. Mm-hmm. There are people that who are active COVID-19 that do not have any symptoms, that have walked around and are fine, that are playing basketball, mm-hmm. and are running and doing their thing, and they have no idea they have this, but they have active COVID. Now, why doesn't it affect them compared to other people? That's another conversation we'll have maybe later in this hour. But mm-hmm. but some people don't. Mm-hmm. And then what they do is they build the antibodies, and that's where the rapid test and the blood test comes back.
Right.
You actually want to have the antibodies for this virus. You want to tell people your body can fight this. There's no doubt about it, Russell. Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. The virus is killing people today that are compromised.
Yeah. Pre-existing people who have pre-existing conditions like asthma. Yeah.
Well, listen, and listen. We'll talk about people of color, African Americans.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And this is what I mean. You have to have these conversations.
Yeah.
Obesity is if you're obese and this thing hits you, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
If you have asthma, you are in trouble.
Yep.
If you have any type of compromising, it's going to hit you hard. My mom has COPD. She's almost 80 years old. Mm-hmm. If COVID-19 hits her, it is not going to end up well for her.
Right.
So, but also too, and that's why this virus is maybe it's a wake-up call. We have to get healthier as a culture.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially like in the, I can speak for the African American community. Yeah, we have to get healthy. We have to eat better. We suffer from hypertension.
Absolutely.
Due to our diet, and our immune systems are compromised because of that. So yeah, it's something we have to really take a look at. During this virus. So this can be kind of like a wake up call for those, for African Americans, people of color, what have you. Yeah, because it's like you said, it really hits home to those communities. It's really doing that damage.
No doubt about it. I mean, and this is what I mean. I mean, I think a year from now, we'll get the true statistics of what this disease has basically evolved in our country, and right. Who's been hurt, who's not been hurt, right. Why, when. I do believe you're seeing some silver linings. You're seeing some of the pharmaceutical companies. The testing is coming out quicker every day. Mm-hmm. I pray that we have a vaccination for this within the end of the year or maybe next year. Mm-hmm. But remember this though. I just want to warn everybody, or just maybe educate everybody. The common flu. We have a flu vaccine that many millions of Americans get a vaccine every day, the flu shot every year. Uh-huh. But the flu kills hundreds and thousands of people every year. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. This is a virus that it attacks you. If you're not healthy, it will hurt you.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what the problem we might face down the line, because during flu season, now we're gonna have kind of like the double whammy. You're gonna have COVID-19 is still out there. You got the flu season as well. So we got to really be careful in what we do and how we go about our daily lives.
Oh, listen, you know what blows me away is, and I don't have these answers, and I think no one has these answers.
Right.
Going back to sports, we have no baseball right now.
Yeah.
We have no NBA playoffs.
Yep. You got the Korean League now. Have you seen the Korean League now?
Listen, I will tell you, I'm addicted to the Michael Jordan special. It's just fascinating because I love Michael, and Michael's obviously an icon, but all of our passions in some ways have been hurt here in the spring.
Yeah.
And, this country is not that old. Nope. It's really not that old.
Yeah.
And this is a pivotal point in American history. Listen, no one really hurt me, and this goes back to what you and I live for. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had no March Madness. And sports
very weird.
Plays a great role in Americana's life because it lets us get away from everyday living.
Yeah, it causes distraction. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So, once again, we will live, we will learn, and we will get better, and we'll get back to where we're going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Neil, you mentioned The Last Dance, and have you been? I know you've been watching it. Have you been watching it with your kids, or what's your take on The Last Dance? I mean, since you played ball and everything, what's your take on The Last Dance?
So I have 3 sons and 1 daughter.
Okay.
So my oldest son, Neil, is 16.
Okay.
He knows obviously about Michael Jordan. He's heard about Michael Jordan.
Right.
He doesn't understand Michael Jordan.
Right.
Ryan is 14, knows about Michael Jordan, and my little guy Cole, 10, doesn't know anything about Michael Jordan.
Okay.
And it's great. We watch it together, and I explained to him that Michael was a pivotal part of NBA history.
Yeah.
He is an icon. He is, I'm no knock on LeBron, and maybe I'm old school. To me, I always felt there was only 3 people that changed basketball in my life that I saw. Was Michael, was Magic, and was Larry. And that's just me.
Right. Okay.
I thought they changed the game when they played, and it went in a different direction. And Michael was just it's his drive and his conviction is incredible. And listen, how about this? Michael Jordan is a billionaire.
Yeah.
He is he owns an NBA team. That drive has transformed him from his basketball career to, listen, at one point, a baseball career.
Right, yeah. They're going to talk about that coming up in the next episode. Yep.
And listen, I got to tell you, if Michael Jordan would have started playing baseball or focused on baseball in his teen years, I have no doubt about it, he would have been the next Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah, he probably would have been the greatest player ever. Yep, in baseball.
Absolutely. And so the message for me with that show, especially my sons, is drive and hard work. No doubt about it. Yeah. And that's and Michael Jordan, listen, we all know the story. He was cut when he was a sophomore, freshman in high school.
Yep.
He just it's an amazing, one of the best amazing stories out of all Americans I've ever heard of.
Yeah. So I know your sons are youngs, but their hero is LeBron James. But I would imagine they're getting like a little perspective about Michael Jordan, who he was as the man, and now they can really get a chance to see who really is the GOAT. If you really, if you stack up the players or what have you, you see the drive of this particular individual.
And you know what I love about the special? I got to tell you, I love the brutal honesty. I love that, Michael still thinks Isaiah Thomas is not a good guy.
Right. Yeah, but you know what? Mike is getting a lot of flack because he said that, he thought Isaiah was an asshole back then. He clearly said back then. So maybe, but that's kind of like deep rooted, that rivalry. So it's like back then and still now. But, my boy Isaiah, that's why I wore number 11, Isaiah Thomas.
Well, I was going to say, I learned something new the last couple of weeks. I didn't know Russell Williams was a big Isaiah Thomas fan.
Yep, a huge Isaiah Thomas fan. And you know what, Neil? I would have worn number 11 at McClancy, but our boy Charlie Stanley had it. The shirt was too small for me to wear. That's why I didn't wear it. That's why I had to settle on 22.
That's fantastic.
Yo, hold on one second, Neil. Hold on one second, Neil. We got Gina mentioned. She's getting involved in the conversation. She goes on. Gina says, MJ brought sportsmanship to the game, and she says she's a number 100% Laker girl. So, but she says you got to give him some credit. And then Gina also says, to paraphrase Kobe, there is no greatest player. No way to prove that definitely. So you need to have, you don't need to have that argument. You know, Gina makes a good point because when, you know, the episodes about The Last Dance when Kobe Bryant was talking, and Kobe Bryant really credits Michael Jordan for being who he was and him winning 5 championships because of the advice that he gave a young Kobe. You know, it wouldn't have been a Kobe Bryant if it wasn't for Michael Jordan.
Listen, I think when we all look at our heroes in sports, it's a generational thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, like Michael to me was magic.
Yeah.
No, I mean, just watching his. You know, it's funny. Everybody looks at Michael Jordan and they see the dunk and that, but you know, he was one of the greatest defensive players ever to play the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was incredible. He is just. I don't know. I can't say enough about him.
Yeah.
Watching this series just verifies everything I thought about this guy.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, you definitely get a different perspective about him. You know, like a lot of times I say, like the price of fame. You know, with a Michael Jordan. You know, he's the guy's like sequestered in his hotel room, can't get out because you know he's gonna been bombarded, and then his day starts when he goes out. It's like mobs of people. You know, that's a tough way to live, but I guess that's the price of fame, and you know, some people can handle that, but we get a nice perspective of how he was able to handle that. You know, what type of people. Probably the average person couldn't handle that, and you know, we see that from a Michael Jordan. So it's been a phenomenal series to watch.
I think that's a great just conversation to have. What you said is perfect. You look at Michael Jordan, and you know, no one prepares you for this. No one sends you to fame school.
Right. Yeah.
And then you throw on millions of dollars of in his life. And he is, but you know what? I through this special, you know what I got at all times?
What you got?
How his mom and dad and his family were in his life, and they set the foundation for him. They really did.
Yeah, they definitely did. Like especially if his brother, he had to have battles with his brother. His brother was the best athlete in the family. And, you know, he got his toughness from him because after they finished playing, they wind up fighting each other. So he got that, you know, that toughness, that tenacity from his brother Larry. And, you know, and the family structure was in place there. So that's a good thing. That was a good thing watching that.
It's incredible. I love it.
Yeah, yep. So your kids are liking it too. So they're getting, they're understanding, you know, the reason why they got those Jordans and who the guy is behind those Jordans that they might be wearing.
Absolutely. And so Jordan is become synonymous with like Coke or Xerox or Apple or what. It's become a brand that lasted 40 years.
Yep, brand Jordan. Yeah.
It's amazing. You know, even looking back, I didn't realize how Nike at the time was struggling as a company who was considered just a track and field. Right. Sneaker, and how I think Adidas passed on Michael. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, right? They passed on him, and he wanted to wear Adidas and everything. But yeah, it's how far Nike has come. I mean, now it's a brand, you know, the Jordan brand, and you know, he's responsible for that. And you know, he's the guy. He's the guy that, you know, came up with the major endorser. I mean, you had endorsers in the past, like they mentioned about Converse was the shoe. But he really took it to another level with the Jordans. I mean, I remember the Jordans when they came out, You know, I remember my boy Rob Banner. He used to work at Foot Locker, right, Neil? And he gave me a pair of canvas Jordans, the Jordan ones. And I was like,
wow.
I'm like one of the only people to have like a pair of canvas ones. So I was in heaven, man. So this guy really changed the game.
And I listen, our generation, and I have no problem saying this, our generation, because it was the Bird, Magic, and Michael generation.
Yeah.
Was the first generation of sneakers. You know, back in the 70s, early 80s, they were wearing whatever. They were wearing Converse. But
Chuck Taylors, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Sneakers blew up in, like, the Magic, Michael, and Bird era.
Yeah.
I remember Bird's black sneakers.
Yep.
And then you had Magic, purple and
gold.
Yep.
Yep,
Oh,
those
my
weapons.
God.
Yeah, those weapons, Converse weapons. Those were big.
That's where it started to blow up.
Yeah.
And that's where I got to tell you, I feel our generation, in some ways, is blessed because we grew up in a very different world, and we transitioned over to a basketball, sneaker, and then eventually a technology world that, like, I remember, listen, we've talked about this. We grew up in the 70s where people had a phone, one phone, and there was no remote control on the TV, and the phone had a cord that was like 20 feet.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And now I remember that world, but also now we live in a whole different world, and it's the world of Zoom and the world of iPhones and technology and Bluetooth. It's amazing. It's been a wonderful journey with technology in different situations.
Yeah, it really has been. It really has been. So, yeah, man, I've been enjoying the show. You know, it just brings me back to a time. It brings me back to the time when we were in high school, you know, Neil, like when we were going to Hawaii for the tournament, you know, playing in Hawaii and,
wow.
you know, in 87, having a good time with that. And I just recently had a picture that was sent to me. It was our team photo, Neil. It was our team photo our senior year.
You know, I think about that time of my life a lot.
Yeah.
And how special it was. You know, we were kids, right?
Yeah, we were kids. We were definitely kids.
Majority of us were from Queens. Marlon and Derek were from Manhattan.
Yep.
And, you know, we were just, and here we are taking a plane to Honolulu, Hawaii.
Yep.
Because we were really good that year, and we did it.
Yeah.
And, you know, still listen to my kids, like I tell my sons, you know, Dad went to Hawaii to play basketball. Like,
do they believe you, Neil, when you say that?
Well, I have to show them pictures.
Okay, right, yeah, me too. Yep, because my daughters to this day they don't believe I play basketball at all. Even though I can show them, like, you know, they come to Manhattan College, I can show them, you know, Hall of Fame. I'm a Hall of Fame member is on the board, you know, scoring all those points in there. They still tell me to this day, Dad, you didn't play here. You didn't play basketball.
You know, Russ, you were very, and I know last time we talked, you made a joke about not passing, but no, you were very. I got to tell you, you obviously you're a wonderful human being, but you were a very generous basketball player, and you know, I was so proud to play with you. You were such a good person too.
Oh, thanks.
Your parents were there, and you know, once again, looking back after all these years, you're like, you know, what do you think? And I have such great memories of our year. It just was amazing. Yeah, it really was.
It was great because we came from a melting pot. It was like blacks, whites, Hispanic. We had it all, and it was all fun. We were all innocent. You know, we just had a barrel of laughs. I'm remembering, like, when we went to Hawaii, I remember my boy Charles Stanley, and I'm hoping he's watching here today, Neil. I remember Charles Stanley. We're in a hotel in Hawaii. And I remember Charles, he was like, you know, I'm going to take this ketchup, I'm going to put it on the bottom of the doorknob of our coach. So so you have Coach Kenny opens the door and he has some ketchup on his hand. He's like, oh, somebody got me. And you got Charles. He's like, yes, you know what I mean? So it was just like those innocent deals, those innocent times, you know, when we were so young, innocent, but just had a great time. We always laughed. That's the one thing we did. We won games, Neil, but we always laughed. We always had a good time. The whole group.
Well, you know, I think last time we talked about this, I'm so proud to say that, listen, you know, in the NCAAs, you have if you make it to the Final Four, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you know something, we made it to the Final Four of the New York City Catholic High School League.
Yeah.
And those names, your name, Marlon, everybody, the names that played in that Final Four with Talentine, Hayes, Malloy, and us, and listen, I don't quote me on this, but I think 10 people probably played in the NBA at one point.
Yeah, Kenny Anderson led the way, you know. Yeah, Kenny Anderson. When he was a freshman, we were seniors, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just an incredible journey, and the fact that we were able to do that was just, listen, it's still with me. It sets my foundations as a person today, where we were back then.
Yeah.
And, it's just, you know, like going back, and I don't mean to switch the conversation, but going back to, like you said about kids and this whole COVID-19, I just wonder how this affects them. You know, you and I were seniors, and we were going to Hawaii playing basketball, and we were innocent kids, and we were having a great time. Where today, you know, the class of 2020 doesn't graduate publicly, or they're having, you know, or like even my son, who's listen, he's a talented lacrosse kid. He did not have a season this year.
Yeah.
So I just wonder how this all affects them in some ways.
Yeah, you know, you make a great point there, Neil, because my daughter, she lives in Louisiana, my two daughters, but my oldest daughter, she's a senior, 2020, class 2020. So she misses out on the prom. She's gonna probably miss out on graduation. They're taking a vote now how they're gonna go about having a graduation. They're gonna have it this year or maybe next year. They're gonna take a vote on that. But you know, she's missing out on that, and you know, she's affected by that. You know, I've had conversations with her, and she's telling me like, she's gonna be moving on. She's gonna be going to LSU in the fall, but
Nice.
But she's just said it's hard for her to really transition to college because, you know, she hasn't had that chapter closed in her life in terms of high school. So, you know, it's a lot to deal with, you know, with these seniors, you know, with this COVID-19. It's a tough struggle, and it's going to be a tough struggle for a while for these students, you know, like my daughter.
And, you know, everybody wants to say, and I know, I'm not saying this is a cop-out, but they'll say, oh, kids are resilient. Well, I know they are, but still.
Yeah.
Listen, put it like this. Here's my point about resiliency. We're talking about our high school senior year, and this is 30-plus years later, and we're talking about our fond memories, and some of these kids who thought they would have them, unfortunately, they will not have them.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, I was asked to speak at a high school graduation this year.
Oh, okay.
And obviously I can't do it because we're not having a high school graduation this year. And my point is, I want this to inspire the class of 2020. Yeah. Inspire to go to medical school. Inspire to help people. Listen, if you don't like leadership today, if you don't like the governor or the president or whoever you want to, this should inspire you to, or drive you, like Michael Jordan, to grab what you want to grab.
Yeah. Yep. Or like Councilman like Neil Foley, who, like, you know, they're inspired. They, you know, they want to make a change. They want to make a difference. So get involved in politics, you know, your local government. You know, that might be a way to go for these kids. And, you know, people who be inspired.
All politics is local. It always is.
Yeah.
Everybody starts local, and and I think it's important to start local because it's important to help people, and it will tell you why you're in it and why you're not. If you're in the political arena for fame or whatever you want to call it, you're in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
If you want to help people and find solutions and make us a better country, then that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, we got to be in it for the right ways. Yeah, for the right reasons.
Absolutely.
Yep. Hey, Neil, I got two more questions for you. Before I do answer that, though, we'll ask you these two questions. My cousin Gina says we are old, talking about our war stories here. So let's move on with that. We'll move on, Gina.
Sorry, Gina.
I know, right? Hey, it's always good to reminisce, especially when I got my old friend on here. No, we're going to reminisce. We're going to get that in, right, Neil?
Well, the only thing is I'll tell Gina, eventually the number gets higher and higher. So she will be she will be old one day. So
that's true.
It's going to happen to all of us.
That's true. Absolutely. Yep. If we're lucky enough, no doubt about that. Hey, so Neil, I got 2 more questions for you, man. So, and
Okay.
this one is a political question. So,
Sure.
okay, and I want to know who you got and why between President Trump and Biden when they have their general election. Like, who do you get and why do you have that person winning?
Wait. So you're asking me who do I think is going to win?
Yeah, between Trump and Biden.
So let me just state this, and I've always said this.
Okay.
President Trump is not easy. He is a very different president that we've had, maybe ever.
Yep, different. Yeah, he's a
fan.
He's a different beast. Yeah, different beast, no doubt.
Absolutely. But I always will, and I've said this. I think last time I said this on the show, and I'll say this now.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe in 2016, Hillary Clinton lost the election, and President Trump didn't win it, but Hillary lost it.
Mm-hmm.
Going on to 2020, I have to tell you that I'm not a fan of Joe Biden.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. And it has nothing to do with political parties. Because I have dear Democratic friends, and I have people that are in the political arena. You know, Joe Biden, who represents the Democratic Party, is, and how do I say this, but he's just, you know, the Democratic Party the last year or so, and I'm not saying this is bad, has defined itself as a party of everybody, men, women, color, gay, straight, trans, whatever you want to call it. And once again, we're still left with 2 older white men in their late 70s.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was a bad choice for the Democratic Party to go Biden.
Uh-huh.
Bernie Sanders was not going to win. Neither was Elizabeth Warren. I thought there were other better candidates out there.
Okay.
And my point is, so okay, fine. Is Joe Biden going to win in 2020? I personally don't think so, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
If you look at the last 100 years, Americans love a 2-term president. Very few presidents only get 1 term. Very few.
Right.
I think Joe Biden, and once again, speaking to my own personal opinion and even some of my Democratic colleagues, obviously I can't name their names,
right.
Joe looks old.
Mm-hmm.
Joe sounds old. Joe makes mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you want someone who I think inspires people. So my point is, I know it's maybe late in the game, it's too late in the political process. You mentioned before, Russell, Governor Cuomo. The guy gets on 11:30. Yeah. He sounds great, looks great. He inspires people.
Yeah. But I know he's been on record. He said that he does not want to run for president, and I know he has a great relationship with Biden because they worked in, the public sector before. So I don't think we're going to see that. I mean, people would like to see that. I think he's demonstrated that leadership throughout this pandemic, but I definitely don't see that happening because of his relationship he has with Joe Biden. So,
and unfortunately, this is a COVID-19, and it's very late in the political process.
Uh-huh.
I would even say the governor of California. He has shown leadership during this process, and plus California, like I said, is the 6th largest economy in the world.
Yeah.
And I think those 2 guys would really have a shot.
Okay. All right.
I just right now I know, and I tell you, you got to throw all these polls out the window.
Polls mean nothing. Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen that story before. Yep, polls mean nothing. Hey, you know what Gina says? Gina says 2020. It does not look good for either candidate. I just don't know if I will survive another Trump era unscathed. She says she's being a Generation X, disabled, unemployed mother, black mother of 2 black sons. So, that's
Gina, listen, I got to tell you, this is my problem too. What's going on?
Okay.
We have this. We are. I'll be cocky. We are the greatest country in the world, and we have 330 million people.
Right.
And I would say to every single American living on this living in this country. Is this the best two people we got? That's what frustrates me.
Yeah.
I'm like, sometimes I'm like, holy cow, that's amazing to me that this is the two best people.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked that the Democratic Party, it just seems that I didn't think they would go with the Joe Biden nomination. I really didn't think so. I thought they would have went. I would have went. Listen, I got to tell you, I would have went with Mayor Pete. I thought Mayor Pete was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
He was different. He was new. He was well-spoken, and he just, I don't know.
But is America ready for a gay president?
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you, because I go back to President Obama. Was America ready in 2008 for President Obama?
Well,
if you would ask somebody in 2006, they would have said, you're crazy. There's no way this guy,
right.
First of all, no one even knew President Obama in 2006.
Right.
You would have this African-American man and take over this country and be elected in 2008. I do. I really do. I think the country is ready for a woman. I think it's ready for African-American. It's ready for a Jewish American. I think really we've come so far in 10, 12 years, 15 years. I do believe we're okay with that.
Yeah.
And, I think if I'm Joe Biden, you know who I'm going to pick as my VP?
Well, you should. Who do you like? Who do you like, Neil?
So if you ask me what gives Joe Biden the best shot to win the presidential election in 2020,
okay,
I would say my first choice would be Michelle Obama.
That would be my choice too, but I don't see her running. I don't see her getting involved with it. But who's your second choice?
Either.
Huh?
So I don't either. I'll tell you why I don't either, because I don't think she really enjoyed the spotlight as the first lady.
Yeah.
She's a great mother. She's a great American. It's funny. Some people are just born into this world and can do it. I just felt sometimes she struggled with it sometimes.
Right.
But I think Michelle Obama,
okay,
an Obama-Biden ticket could win. It could win.
Okay, it could win.
The second person, I think you've got to go with Amy Klobuchar. She's a female. She's in the swing state.
All right.
I thought she did pretty well during the Democratic.
She did. She picked up some steam.
She did. And that's who I would go with.
What about Stacey Abrams in Georgia?
Georgia?
Yeah.
Stacey is. I don't think it's her time yet.
Okay.
I don't think it's her time yet.
Okay.
I think. So let's talk about winnability. That's all right. You want to ask? So the Democratic Party is probably going to lose Georgia in 2020.
Right.
It's a red state or maybe a purple state. So and Stacey is from Georgia and she's an elected official there. I don't think that serves Biden well. Where when it comes to Klobuchar, she's in the swing state, which Trump won, where she can maybe swing the state back to the party. Because remember this, we have a great process in politics, but it really comes down to maybe 6 to 10 states at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's that electoral, was it electrical college, was it?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, Stacey Abrams, I think it's just not her time. And if you look at political history, some people, including like Rudolph Giuliani, President Reagan, just different political people who have lost and who just it wasn't their time.
Right.
I think she needs another 4 years-ish to have her national voice.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, too. I don't think most people really know who she is. And I think she needs to get on the national stage bigger and better than what she's had. She's popular, but she's not a national figure yet.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Hey, we got Chris here. Chris makes a good point. I want to read this. Chris says, he says, this thing we are all dealing with should bring families back together. Talking about COVID-19. Tough times. It's all about survival. So yeah, I agree with you on that, Chris. I definitely do. And you know what, Neil, man? Just like, I know you're a Republican and stuff, and that's a great thing. Is it's great to have conversation, which we're having. But the one thing I respect about Republicans is Republicans, they when they're involved in these races, like political races, they play to win the game. I mean, it's just like Herm Edwards. Like Herm Edwards said, you play to win the game. I think Republican parties, they play to win the game. We're not here to participate. We're here to win the candidacy. So I definitely respect what you're saying on all this stuff.
Russ, I got to tell you, both parties have evolved.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, we're talking about President Trump. If you would have asked me or any Republican in 2015, would Donald Trump win the national election?
Wow.
I would have told you I had a bridge to sell you.
Yep.
It's not going to happen.
Yep.
And I think a lot of Republicans do struggle sometimes with the president. We support him. We do. But I'm the first one to say sometimes I wish he would just stop tweeting, and we talked about this before. And like I'll give you an example. Governor Cuomo has the COVID-19 press conference every day.
Right.
It's 30 minutes. 30 minutes. It ends in 30 minutes. He takes about 7 minutes of reporter questions, but it ends.
And done. Yep.
And done. President Trump, until last week, was doing 2 hours of a press conference.
Yeah.
And
it was more like a rally than it was a COVID-19 briefing.
And my point is, no matter what you do, if you have a conversation with anybody for 2 hours, you're going to agree or disagree.
Right.
So I think, it's funny. I look at both parties because we've had 8 years of President Obama, and then now we have 4 years of Trump, and prior to that was obviously 4 years of Bush.
Right.
But 8 years of Bush. But I think what's great about our political world is it goes in cycles.
Yeah.
At one point, the Democrats control the House or the Senate or the Republicans. It goes in cycles, and cycles are very healthy.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, so Neil, I got one more question for you, man, before I get you out here, and I appreciate you coming on today, the second time for my man Neil. Hey, Neil, how does America transition from COVID-19? Like, what should be the plan? Like, you're in the offices. You told your constituents. What is the transitional plan when we transitioning from COVID-19? Like, is there a plan out there, or is it something we should be planning for?
No, there's definitely a plan. I mean, what you're going to see in the next. Listen, this is actually very different than 9/11, and we're New Yorkers.
Right.
But what you're going to see in the next 3 to 5 years, a post-COVID life. The days of maybe looking at somebody that was walking around with a mask on, they looked crazy a year or two ago.
Yeah. Which,
guess what, is going to be with us for a very long time.
Yes.
You're going to see a COVID world of. I'm curious because we're both sports guys. Where does sports, in a sense, not TV or the game, but in a sense going to the game?
Yeah.
Would you go to a Yankee game tomorrow with your kids right now?
No, I wouldn't. No. But I know what you're saying though.
Would you go to a concert? So I think there is definitely a post-COVID life.
Yeah.
I think just like the American defense world played a big part in post 9/11. I think the only thing that gets us through this, or gets us back to maybe the semi-normal world, would be a true vaccination within a year or so. But until that vaccination comes back, you're going to see people not shake hands.
Right.
You're going to see people not conjugate. You're going to see people stay away from crowds. You're going to, if you see someone next to you, you're going to look at them like, why are you next to me? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
And that's where we are now. And it's going to take years. This is a pivotal point in American history in some ways.
Yeah, and I think the main emphasis is we're gonna have to all do this together. We gotta all pull from the bootstraps and get this done together. And that's the only way possible. We got to do it together. Can't be pockets doing this and pockets doing that. We got to do this whole thing together to get out of it together.
Absolutely, and it needs to happen together. And I think that's what everybody wants. Just come together on the same page. Yep. Let's find a good message. Let's find a good vaccination. Let's find a good treatment of this, and let's get back to the new normal and being Americans again.
Absolutely. Hey, Neil, my man, my brother. Hey, I appreciate you coming on, man. I always love talking politics and catching up on our times at Mount Senior McClancy and talking Last Dance and all that good stuff. And, down the line, I have you on again so we can talk more politics and, talk about what's going on with COVID-19 in your area as well. So, no, it's always a pleasure having you on there. I really appreciate you coming on today.
I got to tell you, you're a dear friend. I love you, and you do an amazing job. And the fact that you have a voice doing this now and you are changing people's lives, I'm so proud of you, and thank you.
Oh, thank you, Neil. Thank you, man. I'll be in touch with you, brother.
Bye-bye, buddy.
Okay, take care. All right. That was my boy, Councilman of the town of Brookhaven, New York, Mr. Neil Foley. Thank you, Neil, for coming on. I appreciate you, man. Just want to just read a couple of comments that was being said. I like Gina. Gina says, Joe is old. Trump has psychotic issues. Is there a grassroots movement to write in Cuomo? Yeah, he might have to do a write-in ballot. I don't know. But it looks like, though, Gina, it looks like he doesn't want to run, though. Because, again, like I mentioned to Neil, he has a great relationship with Joe Biden. So I don't think that'll happen. We'll see what goes on. We have J. Edna Nolan joining us today. Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. Appreciate it. Hey, John, thank you, man. Great show. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yep. It was great having Neil on. Great stuff. Great stuff. Hey, so ladies and gentlemen, before we head on out, if we were able to make you laugh, smile, or think during this broadcast, my good friends, you have accomplished something major today. So celebrate your victory. Celebrate your victory today. Be it small or big. Just celebrate. Celebrate your victory. Hey, so ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for joining us here on Transition Tuesdays. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you guys. I'm going to post this show on our YouTube channel, Transition Tuesdays. I'm going to do that, so make sure you tune in there. And love having you guys. Love having the discussion. Love having, just getting that information out to the masses for everybody to share in on. And after we're done here today, I want you guys to go to my podcast, The Russ and Kaylanice Experience, which you can find it on Spotify, Google Play, iTunes. Check it out. We are doing great things. We're giving out a lot of information. We have great guests. My boy who was just on here earlier, Mr. Chris Williams, we have him on the podcast this week's episode. Amazing episode. I want you guys to check it out. So go on there. Go on the Russ and Kaylanice Experience, the podcast. You can subscribe, you can like, and you can share it. Please do so when we're done here, of course, okay? Make sure you do that, okay? And also, guys, you guys can follow me on Instagram at All World Transitions. Would love to have you guys. If you guys are interested in getting my book, Transition Game Plan, you can always go to Amazon.com. You can get the book. And if you would like my book, Transition Game Plan, if you want a signed copy, you can always send me an email at rwilltransitions@gmail.com. We'll love to get the copy of the book out to you today. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I always say in parting, happy transitioning, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody, and stay safe out there. We're praying for each and every one of you out there. Thank you so much. Take care, guys.